Hello and welcome to the CRM Zen show, where we talk about all things Zoho. This is episode 152 with the show with the title that just hurts our ears. You Don't Got Mail. Recorded on Friday, June 25th, 2021 from Zenatta Consulting. I'm Brett Martin.
And I'm Tyler Colt, and let's get right on into the show.
All righty, so we've got our webinar coming up on July 20th at 10 a.m. Pacific, and we're going to do a deep dive on Zoho subscriptions, a full tutorial. Basically, you watch that, you'll be a pro on subscriptions. It's a great product. It's actually one I love. We use it every day. And it's got a lot of powerful features and a lot of cool things you can do with it. And we're going to go into that in some depth. So that should be a good one. And as always, if you want to know everything that's going on in Zoho, slight change here, head over to zenatta.com/events. And we've got all the events sitting on the page there. I guess summertime, things are slowing down a little bit. But we do have, a few events coming up here from Zoho and others in July. So go there, take a look, and hopefully you'll find something that you like. All right, Tyler, moving on to the news. We're going to start off with a couple brutal public service announcements from this week. Both kind of having to do with mail. Zoho Mail just had so many issues. I believe they are now fixed. But man, it was slow. Messages weren't coming in. Messages weren't being sent. Just all over the map. Caused a lot of our clients a lot of issues. I still don't have any reason for it. Did you hear anything as to what may have caused it?
No, I've not seen it. They've been having on and off issues with mail kind of over the past couple of weeks. I see it pop up on their list of issues at status.zoho.com on and off here. So hopefully they're getting those resolved for good, but something to be aware of and look out for.
Yeah, it was a real problem. And I don't know, maybe it had something to do. They're beta testing a new version of tasks that's part of mail. Mm-hmm. And they're making all sorts of changes to that. That has promise. If they listen to some of the people that are beta testing, I'm going to be happy about that. I don't know, because they are making some changes on the back end around that. Maybe that caused some problems. And then the big one. I don't know how this happened, but Zoho campaigns basically was just shut down by Gmail for about a day. Someone sent a message, and basically it was sent through Zoho campaigns, and it contained malware. And so it got blocked by Gmail, and then the entire IP string got blocked. And what disturbs me about this is it's like, hey, this happened. We couldn't get a response from Gmail, from Google. They wouldn't help us. So we found a workaround so that we could, so that basically our mail would go through now. And hey, good news, everything's resolved. I guess I appreciate the honesty in this, but I don't know. It seems like, this happens. I don't see this with other mail services. It's really kind of an interesting thing here. I don't know what they're doing.
Yeah, and it seems like what they've changed is it was a part of the way they were tracking clicks in the way they're constructing their URLs.
Yep.
And it looks like maybe URLs were looking too similar between different users. So a lot of people got caught up in the same malware block that kind of caught that primary user that was actually doing the malware sends. But something to be aware of and kind of keep an eye on. We'll probably follow up on this one if they do a post-mortem on exactly what happened here and how they'll fix it going forward.
Yeah, but usually your IP is a couple of things. Malware is usually going to be caught by Constant Contact or MailChimp or any of the others. There's no way it's going to get off their servers and sent. Also those IP addresses are known to the world. As these are legitimate mail companies. So it seems like, that needs to get fixed. I know there are a couple other spam blockers that just, you can't get through.
Mimecast is a big one. They do not like Zoho's mail servers.
No, they don't. So anyway, start there with a couple of PSAs and then moving on right into the news. We've got the Zoho Workerly June updates, just kind of minor stuff. I think we covered these for the most part, didn't we? The unavailability, availability.
Yeah, I think a nice one here is they used to have a filter for temps without jobs that would look at only temps that had no jobs assigned at all. And they've changed that filter to now look at temps without jobs today or this week or this month or this year. So I think that's going to make that a little bit more useful, right? Because you don't want to see every single temp that doesn't have a job if you're trying to fill a spot this week. You just want to see ones that maybe don't have something this week. So nice little additional filters there, as well as they've added the ability for a temp to call themselves unavailable. It's kind of adding some new statuses for reporting on whether temps can or cannot show up for certain jobs. So just kind of continuing with these minor functionality updates across Workerly.
Yeah, this kind of tags on. What did they have last time? Like, I'm running late, I'm on my way. This is kind of another kind of, I guess, enhancement over and above that. And then Zoho Bigin. You can now import tasks and send emails from the native apps and more. So importing tasks is nice if you need to do that. And then basically that's kind of it. I mean, they've done some other things here. They're kind of small little tweaks to both the iOS apps and then, the actual desktop app itself.
It looks like as well they've added the ability to import tags. So just kind of a minor little updates here around data management, things like that. A big one here is you're able to delete your Bigin organization now. That one actually comes in a lot if you have a user who accidentally spins up a trial of Bigin. It's the same thing as in the CRM where they've got to go in and delete their trial. I'm thinking that they probably added this because people were making that same mistake and they were having to go to Zoho to get it fixed.
Yeah.
So a good little update there that just lets you do that yourself if you do have a user that accidentally has a trial account created.
Yeah, and I guess the little change here on you can customize the cards for each and every pipeline. So if you have different pipelines now, you can customize the look and feel. That's kind of big.
Yeah, I mean, you might have certain data points, number of units, and that only applies to a hardware sale, not a software sale, right? So you could kind of tweak that and make the pipeline and your Kanban view a little bit customized.
Yes. So I haven't heard of Bigin's been a little quiet lately, so it's good good to see that that updated. And moving right along here with the news, Zoho Desk April and May Community Digest kind of combined here. I went through this. I didn't see anything that we haven't really covered or that seemed all that new to me. Did anything you want to point out?
No, pretty much just a roll up of things that we've talked about throughout the week. Nothing too crazy here. Kind of updates around email templates, knowledge base. I think language is a big part here. So able to fetch based on a particular language from your knowledge base. I don't know if we talked about that one specifically, but that one did kind of stand out. Yeah. I know they're kind of doing that across the board because as they build out the answer bot in Sales IQ, that's going to continue to reference the knowledge base if you do have it tied into Desk. So building out the just automatic translation and language processing there.
And a great segue. It's kind of like you knew what was coming. So let's talk about some Sales IQ news. It's interesting. A lot of this isn't really new, but we're kind of rolling these out. It was a slow news week anyway. Not a lot really going on in the world of Zoho, but these are all part of Sales IQ 2.0 things. So this one was, you can grow. You've got company scoring now, and that which you didn't have in Sales IQ before. And this is a nice little step-by-step, kind of takes you through company scoring, how it works and what it's for.
Yeah, there's a lot of opportunity there with just this whole update around B2B management in Sales IQ, right? Where there wasn't a functionality before to group visitors by what company they're at. So now you could actually be tracking, hey, this user went to this page and this user went to this one. So that company now has a total score. So good to know if you're doing some prospecting and want to figure out, which companies have some engaged users on your website.
And, we asked for it and we got it, Codeless Bots. And Zoho kind of went all in on the Codeless Bots. Yet another article on basically storing data with, context and visitor fields, basically just more things you can do with your Zobots as you go ahead and build them. I mean, these are just more tutorials and letting you know what you can do here, but nice stuff.
Yeah. And this, the context fields are actually pretty important for doing branching. So if you are starting to build these out, you might find, hey, why can't I branch on this? Why can't I make this go down a certain path. And what I've found from playing with this is oftentimes anytime you're asking them a question, you want to store it in one of these context fields, because then you can use the context field later to create a branch in whichever path you have the bot going down. So this one's a little bit more of a technical tutorial that they've put out around these, but one that is important to take a look at if you want to build one yourself. Not going to require any code, but it's just an important way to store some of these values from previous steps in a Zobot and use it in a future step.
And a nice little addition to Zoho Writer, you can now, as you go back through your version history, you can see old comments that were written. So this actually can be extremely helpful if you're working on a very long, detailed document. You kind of want to go back through anything that was written, anything that was said.
Definitely something that's been around in tools like Google Docs for a long time. I always remember back in college, you'd look at that edit history and you'd see no one had done anything. Then you'd sign back off for the day and hope again for the next one. So good to have this inside a writer just in case, anything happens. You're just able to see who made which changes over a life cycle.
Yeah. And it's a pretty slick versioning control too. I mean, I like the way they're doing it. Oftentimes with previous versions, it's, I actually I think they're handling this better than Google Docs is currently. So it's good stuff there. All right. And then moving on, we've got the implementation of the week. What do you got, Tyler?
And so this is one that we built out here for one of our clients recently. And it's basically a total marketing ROI calculation using books, CRM, and analytics. So kind of some important prerequisites for this is that you'll need to have all of your forms set up. We use tools like Zoho Forms to categorize and kind of create landing pages for all these various sources so that you have really good and consistent tracking of your lead source. We've also done this with the Zoho social integration. If you're running things on Facebook lead forms, those can tie directly into the CRM with a unique lead source that you can use for this reporting. And then kind of the other important part of this is that your expenses that you're tracking for your spend on pay-per-click or promoted posts, you need to make sure that those are going into particular GL accounts for each of those platforms that you want to track individually. So you might have a parent GL account of, pay-per-click advertising, and then you want to break those down by Facebook, Instagram, LinkedIn, what have you. And as long as we have those things dialed in where the leads are coming in with the sources and the expenses are going into proper accounts, then we can pull all of this data into Zoho Analytics and start to process it using some of their SQL query tables. Kind of the big advantage there in using queries is that you can create new data tables that have shared axes for some of the things you want to report on. So if you do this without the query table, what you'll find is you'll end up getting stuck because your expenses are going to have an expense date and your leads are going to have a lead creation date or a lead converted date, right? And your deals are going to have a closing date. And so if you try to create one big report or some type of comparison metrics, it just becomes kind of a bear. And so what we do is use some queries to create a new data table where you're actually pulling in a bunch of different objects with some shared axes like date and like value into one table. And then from there, you're just able to run some aggregate functions or kind of pivot tables to calculate things like what's your cost per lead, what's your cost per closed one deal, all of these being based on a particular source. It's kind of a big need. Oftentimes, you're kind of spending all this money on various different advertising platforms, and it's important to know what's going to work best for you. And it depends on your industry. Of course, if you're doing more consumer-facing products, you would think that you're going to get a better return on Facebook or Instagram than LinkedIn, but you never know unless you're actually measuring it. So we've kind of implemented this a couple different ways, and we did a big build out this week around this for one of our clients. So I thought I would highlight it here.
Yeah, I mean, kind of anecdotally here, having run a big PPC marketing firm, I can tell you that you need to know this information. Invariably, though, having done this for hundreds and hundreds of clients, Google's going to be cheapest, but you have to get these baselines at the end of the day. When you look at your cost per lead and your cost per deal run and you look at your lifetime customer value and you start looking at all those things, once you run all this through and you've got it all dialed in, you'll end up with a baseline. And it's usually if a Google ad's going to cost you $1 per lead, we'll say, you can pretty much look at Facebook, Instagram, LinkedIn are going to run anywhere from 3 to 8x that. And so the thing is, you want to have those and you want to have them as a baseline, and maybe your results will vary slightly differently. But then your plan is usually to keep those going, but then to spend on Google until you get kind of up to what the next nearest one is, right? And then maybe start that other investment if you still need the leads over and above that. I mean, you want to have them running, but having analytics like this is the only way you can get that real detailed numbers that you need, so you can make really smart investments in your social media marketing. And
I think the big piece that what we oftentimes find when we engage is when you have an agency that's doing PPC, they're going to be able to really accurately and effectively track through the form being submitted, right? And that's kind of where a lot of that reporting ends, and that's good, right? I mean, you do want to know your spend versus how many lead conversions you're getting that are hitting your system. What we find oftentimes is the missing link is actually connecting it through to the dollars that you make, right? And tracking that lead now through to a deal and comparing that one deal amount back to your ad spend, right? Because you might be driving a lot of leads from a certain source, but they're not the right kind of lead, right? And we've done that before where, back when we were running more Google ads, not all of our search terms that we were using were actually matched to the right type of person. Sometimes people thought we were Zoho because we advertised on too broad of a term, and those generated a whole bunch of leads, but not very many deals. So kind of connecting the dots there of your spend to your actual deal flow, I think is a big value. It's one that we work on internally all the time.
All right, let's move on to the read of the week. This actually is from Zoho, and it's what does the iOS 15 update mean for marketers? Well, bottom line, it means it's going to make things a little tougher for you all the way around. This is a nice read. I mean, look, it's funny because I kind of put Apple and Zoho in the same bucket, right? I mean, they are really all about customer privacy and all around making sure that your data is hidden. But this is kind of nice. It's going to change things. If you're in iOS 15, you can have a harder time tracking. There's a lot of, that's really the end result in all of this. But it's a nice article. It kind of goes through, things you're going to want to do as an email marketer to make sure your stuff gets through, and you make it through, iOS 15, iPad 15, iPad OS 15, and, Monterey. But I think, really this is if you're using only the Apple products to do this. Otherwise, I think you're not going to really have much trouble.
Yeah. And I think, the big two that I see with this update is one, that Apple's going to do hide my email. So they're basically just going to allow an Apple user to generate a single use email address if you want to sign up for things. So I would think maybe some of the days of gated content, right? Give me your email and you can see this article. The value on that is just going to go down significantly because I'm going to use that myself. I can tell you, I will be the first in line to use a feature like that. The other big one too that I think will sneak into having some pretty big effects is it's going to prevent the email sender from getting to know if someone opened or clicked their email. It's kind of a big thing. And I remember, not to go down a rabbit hole, but there was a product called Superhuman that was for, outbound sales emails that I remember kind of a controversy around that of, just because you sign up for a newsletter, are you opting in to let that person know that you opened it, right? Or that you clicked that email, because right now the de facto is everyone has opted in to let email marketers track if they're opening and clicking things.
Virtually every email you get has a hidden pixel on it, right? Every single one. Yeah. But you need to know that too. I don't know. Is it a privacy issue that you're letting someone know they opened it or not? I don't know.
That's the question. But Apple thinks it is.
Apple does. Well, I guess rightfully so. It's interesting though, if you're actually able to do these, basically one-off spoofed aliases that are going off, right? That are going to disappear and you'll never ever see again. So you're getting open rates for something that doesn't exist. in its own way. I mean, it's interesting. And this is only with Apple Mail, and I can't stand Apple Mail, so I don't know. We'll see. And I'm a Mac guy.
I think the next little while here, things are going to go more and more towards inbound for marketing. You're not going to be able to rely on doing a lot of outbound, buying lists, things like that. It's just going to get tighter and tighter and more restrictive in terms of what you can do. So, if you want to be doing things like SEO, blogs, video content for your brand that attract people in where they'll opt in to talk to you, because I think a lot of these methods are just going to get squeezed here if you're doing cold outbound.
They are, slowly but surely. I'll tell you on another thing that's on a privacy basis. It's not the app of the week, but I just got to throw this out because I don't think anybody should wait a week for this. But Robo Killer for iOS, $39 a year. I have had 0 spam calls, 0 spam text messages for 5 days now. It has blocked about 30 of them. It's a beautiful thing. If they're not in your address book, it puts it into a voice assistant that says, "Hey, we're filtering this mail right now," and if and you can see them. It's anyway, great app. I'm sure there are others out there, but I don't know about you, but in the world of privacy, we're tackling all of these things. We're doing all of this. You think that Apple in some way would want to protect our privacy by protecting the 50 phone calls that we get every single day from
telling me.
I mean,
my grandparents get about 2 calls a week of people claiming to be me or my sister in jail, and we need bail money.
Nice.
So they've started to just play a little game out of that because they get calls every single week. It's and I get them about my warranty. It's always about my car warranty.
Yeah. It's expiring and you need to renew it right away. And Marriott hotels, I won. It's exciting news. So, there's that. And then there's the strange one in Chinese that comes in a couple of times a week, which I just never understand. They got to get their list right, All right. Let's move on to over at Zenatta. We've got 2 blogs this week. We've got one on Zoho Voice, the telephony solution SMBs need. Nice little write-up on Zoho Voice, all of the features it's got. This is getting better and better as it goes along. A lot to look at here. I will say that Zoho Voice is a good product. I do think Zoho needs to work. It's the exact opposite pricing model that Zoho does for everything else. It's literally the most expensive telephony solution on the market. Yeah,
it's the one thing. I was actually talking to a customer about it the other day, and I don't know. I don't think you can. It's because it's their default monthly rate for their premium is like $60 per user per month, right? Where you get a premium Ring Central for $45. I think they're going to have a come to their senses moment and adjust that. Because it's got a lot of features, and I think it's heading the right direction. It's going to have really tight Zoho integration, but they've got to adjust that. It's just
the win-win is just beautiful Zoho integration across the board, and which is funny. When it came out, it didn't even have that, but now that it's got super tight integration. I like it. It's just the pricing is
not quite right.
There's something wrong there. I don't know. Hopefully, someone will figure that out. And then we've got the power of Zoho Forms. Can you feel the power? Can you feel it coming through your radio? So anyway, we love Zoho Forms. This is a great little blog on it. It seems like this app should get the most improved for the last year. So much has been done to this, and it's just little things that are so important. And we're just using it for everything. Carrying variables over into another form. There's just so many cool things you can do with it.
Yeah, we'll probably do it as an implementation, not to spoil it, but one of our team members built a whole resume builder out of a form. So you submit the form and it runs a mail merge behind the scenes to create a resume just through a Zoho form submission. I think one of the big things too, talking about improvements, the Google Ads tracking that they added just as a default feature that you basically just turn on. It works like a charm. It's a little bit of embed code on your site, and then all your forms, even if you're just using a Zoho form as an iframe, it will still capture the UTMs and pass them through every single time.
Yeah, there's great things. We use the basically both Calendly and Acuity scheduling. They have just got okay so-so Zoho integration, either going through Zapier or there's one that's built and it's $9 a month. We basically get around all of that just by having a Zoho form that they fill out, and they say, book an appointment, and then we're just taking all the fields from the Zoho form and dumping them into Calendly. And once they choose their date, they don't have to do any double entry, but because it's running through here, we're able to fire off all of our workflows and have everything go to CRM. It's fantastic. There's really, there's so much you can do with this. So anyway, there's a nice little blog here on the power of Zoho Forms, and it basically only touches on probably 1/10 of the power of Zoho Forms. All right, and then we've go over at Zenatta. We've got a whole slew of videos released this week over on YouTube. And a lot of these are around, we did our inventory, and we're basically starting to chunk out small sections of it. A lot of people want to watch the whole thing. A lot of people don't want to watch the whole thing. They just want to go to these tutorials. So we're breaking out these tutorials. We actually ran a survey over in our community, which is pretty hysterical, which is, hey, what do you, what do you prefer? Short videos or long videos? It looks like long videos are pulling ahead here. So yeah, 57 to 43. So, we've got both, but I do find we're starting to see a lot of our tutorials are moving up into the thousands, right? I mean, thousands of views where they're coming on up. Before, we really only saw the major views for the webinars. So these shorter tutorials, people want them, they're there. So we're going to give you what you want on both sides of that equation. So if you head over to youtube.com, you can check out all of our stuff. I think we do a great job. A lot of people like it. I like doing it.
We do our best.
We try. All right. And that brings us to I'm changing this. It's not the app of the week. It's not the extension of the week. We're just going to call it the pick of the week. How's that? All right. It's our new pick of the week.
The thing of the week.
The thing of the week. It's an application, a service. I got in a debate with our marketing department. It's not an app, it's a service. I'm like, yeah, it's both. Anyway, Textbroker is a great place if you need to get something written and get it written well or average. You really have a choice. If you have not checked out this service before, you basically go into Textbroker. You say, I want a blog, and you give them a blog title. And then you give them a paragraph as to what you want in that blog. And then you select how long you would like that blog to be. And here's the crazy part. And then you select the quality of the blogger that you want to have write it. You can go 3-star, 4-star, 5-star. So if you're going to do a bunch of rewrites on your own, you could do that. And what you get back is fairly good. It can need some cleanup. We've had this for clients where things are written, you'll need to clean it up a little bit, but the heavy lifting's done. And even if you were to do like a 1,500 word article with a 5-star blogger, you're less than $200. And so, that's not bad at all. And then you can spend an hour or two yourself kind of cleaning it up and perfecting it. But the bulk of the content's written there. So good service. I just wanted to point it out. We've got a lot of people that I've kind of pointed that direction, it seems, in the last few years. And so I thought, well, we never talked about it. But it's nice. And also you can do it yourself, or they have a managed service offering where basically you talk to somebody on the phone and they go through everything and they do it all for you. So we're taking a look at.
It's a great tool.
It really is. All right. And that then brings us to our tip of the week. And this was our tutorial on creating a project template in Zoho projects.
Yeah, and this is kind of what we would like to highlight as what we think is the right way to use Zoho projects. If you're going to go down the path using this tool, it really works best to use templates. Even if you do have some variability in your projects, if you can get 80% of it, 75% of it templated out, and then kind of customize it from there as needed, it's going to make life a lot easier than building it out all on your own. So in this video, we kind of walked through, creating the template, where to find it, because in the new, we all love the new Zoho Projects UI, but the templates live in a weird place. So we like to highlight where those are, how to set up your milestones, your task lists, and then all of your Gantt charting and reporting. So quick little video, about 15 minutes, that'll help you just jump in and start building out some templates for your own use.
Yes, and next month we're going to be doing Zoho Mail. I guess I'm doing them, Tyler, because you did all these project ones. So I'm going to sit down, I think on Monday, and bang out 5 or 6 Zoho Mail tutorials. I tell you what, I was playing around with the new Mail admin interface, and they changed that about 4 or 5 months ago.
It's super much better. Much better.
Nice. Yeah, although I have to tell you, there was some. This is a funny story. So I wanted to turn on mail for one of our employees. Mm-hmm. So if you go into Zoho 1 and you click on the employee and you click add an app, mail is not an option. Mm-hmm. Okay. If you then go into the application, still in Zoho 1, and you find mail, right? You won't have the ability to add a person. Okay. If you then go into mail, basically the mail admin panel, and you find the person, it will say they're deactivated and there's no way to activate them. So you then scratch your head and you go back over to 1, and then you have to go into the app again, and it'll show you the users, and you have to change the default filter from active to everyone who ever had mail, and they will show up there as a deactivated user, and you can then activate them. But when did that change? Because it was quite, man, oh man, this is the part of the whole Zoho. It's the whole Zoho 1 circle right there, right? It either needs to be in one place.
Circle of mail.
It needs to be in one place, or it doesn't need to be in one place. But anyway, that'll probably be a quick tip we'll throw in right after the bat, how to activate and deactivate people when they come in. But anyway, great tip here on projects. And that's, I think, going to wrap up all of our.
There might be one more on dependencies. I think there's one more on all the different task dependencies that we wanted to do.
So I've got a little time to, if I put my mail tutorials off, that'll be great. The great procrastinator. All right. And with that, we're going to call it a day here. Thanks so much, Tyler. If anybody has any questions or comments, you can reach us over at zenatta.com or crmzen.com.
And on the website is where you'll find complete episodes as well as show notes with links to the stories we discussed today. As always, you can follow us on your favorite social media platform and subscribe to us on your favorite podcast app, as well as on YouTube. We'll see you next Monday.